Yes.
All right. All right. I think we're live. All right. I'm
Nice.
gonna I'm gonna get the stream up just so if people are coming in. But yeah. I'm gonna do the intro.
Because I
You
can.
got, is there a phantom in your room?
What?
I said, is there a phantom in your room? Because you like looked behind you. You're like, what was that?
Oh no, I'm just grabbing my laptop.
Nah, it's okay.
There's a Phantom laptop, Phantom Menace in here.
The phantom laptop.
Phantom laptop, he's in here.
Phantom laptop. All right. No one's in yet. I'm gonna do the intro anyway, though, just in case people
All
want to
right.
rewind it. Hello everyone. I'm gonna make the video full screen, by the way. But we are doing another video stream. This time I'm with my buddy Hobbs. Hobbs, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good. By the way, do you have another name I can call you if you don't like Hobbs?
You can call me Benny. That's my real name.
Benny. Okay, I'm gonna call you Benny then. All right. So if you guys don't know, Benny's a pretty big Bad Batch fan. So am I. We love the Bad Batch. I'm gonna take my glasses off because the glare is annoying me. But Benny, you're a pretty big Bad Batch fan. You made a whole video defending the Bad Batch against a little YouTuber called Chief Talks.
Oh yeah.
Who may or may not be familiar with that guy, but we're not making that video about him. We're not making a video about him today. But yeah, so you're a pretty big fan of the Bad Batch, I would say.
I'd say the biggest. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if that's.
I would say that I don't know. You go to very great lengths to talk about that show. I
do. I'm like, I really like it a lot.
You're definitely one of the biggest Bad Batch fans, I would say. But
I'm a
by the way, before I feel like Bad Batch fans are probably the most civil Star Wars fans, like subgroup. I feel like most.
Yeah.
You ever get that feeling like there's never any like controversies or anything.
I felt that like I've gotten so many comments on all my videos on the show, and all of them have been either positive or constructive or just like respectfully presenting an opposing point of view from my own. Especially when it came to my opinion on Ventress and her resurrection, a lot of people disagreed with me, but none of them were like, "Oh, screw you" or whatever, you know. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. Everyone calls the Star Wars fandom toxic, and I'm like, well, look at this.
Bad Batch fans aren't. It's a very inoffensive show. Like, there's not many people either think the show's okay or really good. Like, it's a very It's pretty safe when it comes to controversy. Like, I feel like Andor fans are like, for lack of a better term, they're sniffing their own farts sometimes. Because whenever something new comes out, they're like, well, it's good, but it's not Andor good. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Andor is a little irritating sometimes. As good as that show is, it does annoy me.
Yeah, it did set a standard that a lot of people seem to like hold other things to, which isn't always fair.
Yeah. And then there's The Mandalorian. I feel like Mandalorian fans, especially during season 2, are incredibly toxic. And so I can never get a read on Ahsoka fans. Ahsoka fans, I feel like that show, there isn't really a consensus on the Ahsoka show.
Yeah, like, it's a bit like, personally, I'm not a fan, but yeah. I know people like you who are.
Thank you. I love.
I don't have anything against Ahsoka fans, but
I don't know. It's like I can't get a read on people who like I can't get a general consensus on that show. Like Mando, people are like, yeah, the first 2 seasons are good. Season 3 isn't that good. But the Boba people don't really like that one. Kenobi people think Kenobi's mid, but like there's no like general opinion on Ahsoka, which is weird. I feel like it's a lot of differing opinions on that show.
There are.
So, but I don't know. So we're gonna be watching this video today. This guy, Galactic Initiative. I have covered him once before with
Oh,
my
really?
friend Kevin American Elephant. He's a little bit of a schemer, and you'll see what I mean when I press play. I don't like picking on people, but this video is not. I haven't seen all of it. I've seen bits of it, and it is rough. I don't like bullying
I
people,
think I
but this
saw bits of it too, but I don't know if I watched the whole thing. So this will be interesting.
okay. All right, I'm gonna press play. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go.
I can't believe The Bad Batch was renewed for a second season, let
Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, perfect.
alone a third season. But Lucasfilm defies response, viewership.
By the way, if you ever want to make a comment on something, let me know and I will pause it. I have
Okay,
pause
let's make a
control.
comment on that because I'm like,
Okay.
I don't really understand what he just said.
Basically, he's
I
saying,
can't believe it got renewed for like why? Why is he surprised? I don't really know.
mean, the first season, I felt like, in terms of viewership, the first season did fine.
First season did fine, and it was generally well liked. I thought, so I wasn't that surprised.
Yeah, there wasn't any like scathing, like criticism against Bad Batch season 1. The viewership 239,000 households. Genuinely, I don't know if that's good or bad or not.
Well, like maybe by the standards of like, okay, obviously the animated projects generally don't do as well as, let's say, the live action ones that feature like incredibly popular characters played by famous actors. But
I mean, yeah.
by the standards of whatever this pocket of Star Wars, I think that's pretty good. It was good enough to get renewed, so I don't really know why he's surprised about that. But okay.
I mean, the thing with animation is if it's not going to get renewed, they're going to repurpose the story to be in another animated show. Like, when Clone Wars got canceled, they made Rebels, and it was like, okay, let's just take the Clone Wars plotline and push it somewhere else. Like, that's basically how it worked. So even if an animated storyline does poorly, you're still going to see those characters again. And that's why they made the Bad Batch in the first place, to follow up on Clone Wars plotlines that weren't finished.
Yeah. So
I don't understand that. Like,
neither do
nobody was asking for the Bad Batch season 2 and 3, and I hate that criticism, by the way, because people really wanted an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and that show didn't do very well.
Wait, so like, did he just say he's surprised it got renewed for season 2 or for season 3?
He said both. He said season 2, yet alone a season 3.
Okay, well, that makes it even weirder because, like, I remember watching season 2 and being like, "There's no freaking way they're gonna leave this unresolved."
Okay, first of all, season 3 was greenlit before season 2 even finished.
Yeah, they confirmed that, didn't they? But also, like,
yeah, and also season 2
ended the way it did. Like, it's like, holy shit.
Because I remember season 2 ended like a week before Star Wars Celebration, and the trailer, or a trailer for it, had already been like compiled, and they were pretty much like finished animated bits of that season. So like they were already working on season 3 before season 2 finished. Like, I don't think people realize how long it takes to make an animated show. Like, the Bad Batch, I think, because I remember I saw a photo of Fennec Shand, and it was her character model, and that was being worked on in September of 2019. That was before Fennec even appeared in The Mandalorian. Like, that's how long it took for Bad Batch to get made. It takes like 2 years for them to make this.
Yeah.
So it's the animation works differently, where they can't really greenlight it after it's finished. If they want it to release in an ample amount of time, they have to make predictions. And Bad Batch season 2 was confirmed to get a second season right as season 1 finished. They didn't do that based off of fan response. They had to plan it ahead of time. So Bad Batch getting rooted nothing to do with fan response. And I guess that's his point. Like, oh, they're not listening to fans, but people like the Clone Troopers. Like, I don't understand why it's like, this isn't like a very niche thing that they're making, and it's like nobody asked for this. Like, I feel like it's not an unpopular opinion to say Star Wars fans will watch mostly anything with clone troopers in it. Like, is that not unpopular?
I don't think that's a controversial thing to say.
Yeah, like even
The show
people
had its own built-in fan base from the beginning, which was
people like the clones. And it's like there's a lot of clone content in this show. Like I would argue not enough. I feel like there are some clones they should have focused on a little bit more. But every episode has a clone in it. Like that's something I don't really take.
Are you one of the people that is unhappy about the amount of Commander Cody that was in the show?
Yes, I was very annoyed about Commander, because that's like my only issue with season 3 is that Commander Cody was not in it, because he was in so much marketing material for season 2. Like he was in most of his shots were in that trailer. He was in one episode and they never touched him again. They didn't even mention him. I was very mad about that. Like I had to essentially set my expectations. Like I think by episode 8, I realized we were never going to see Cody ever again. And I was like, okay. I was like, I need to set my expectations now because I'm going to be disappointed if Cody never shows up. And it annoyed me because for years people were like, what happened to Commander Cody? And they're like, we're bringing him back. And now we're back where we started.
We're bringing him back for like 20 minutes. And
it's like we're bringing him back and he deserted and we still don't know where he is. So, maybe if they make a Clone Rebellion show, Cody will be in it. I hope they do.
That's what I think is going to happen. Because, I personally, I like what they did there. Like, I'm usually the kind of person who's like, I don't really like inconclusive stories. But I kind of like how he serviced, Crosshair's story in the way that he did. And then was like, bye. And then it was just kind of like this... I thought it was a very poignant way to almost end his story, at least in the context of this show, where he just realizes that everything he dedicated his life to is corrupt, and he just left. And it's like, you never know what happened. He just...
Yeah. I just wish, we got one more episode with him. Like, I wanted... Maybe if he was in, at the very least, I feel like he should have been on Tantus. Like, he should have been a prisoner on Tantus.
Yeah, that's true. He could have been in there.
You wouldn't have had to really change much. He could have been in episode 14 when Crosshair was on there. He could have been like, oh, Cody, what are you doing here? He's like, they said you deserted. He's like, no, I didn't. And it's like, oh, it was a cover-up.
Yeah.
And then you can have him in a couple seasons, season 3. And then when Rex comes to rescue everyone with Echo, you can have their reunion. It wasn't like there was no way to fit him. You can fit him and have it be very organic, but I don't know. I was a little disappointed. I hope for the future because I always thought like he should have been in Kenobi. And then obviously that didn't happen. And then the trailer for Bad Batch came out right after, and it's like, oh, they were saving him for Bad Batch. And then he wasn't in it a lot. So I was like, okay, well, maybe he should have just been in the Kenobi show then.
Maybe they're saving him for this now. It keeps happening that way.
It's like maybe they're saving him for a Clone Rebellion show, and then that's going to come out, and he's not going to be in it. And it's like, okay, they're saving him for Kenobi season 2. And it's like
where the hell is Cody, man? Is he safe? Is he all right?
It's literally, that's me every day when I wake up.
What happened to him? Where'd he go?
Little prayer. Like, it's like, I don't know. I am happy they're starting to answer questions people have had for a while, like where's the Zillow Beast? What happened to Barris Offee? But Commander Cody, it's like I just want to know what happened to him, man. I feel bad because he's like the most iconic.
He was just so sad, and then he left.
Yeah,
poor guy.
He's the most iconic clone trooper of all time. Like
the OG named one.
He was like the first ever named clone. Come on, dude. All right, but let's
proceed with this.
We're 10 seconds in, and we've been talking for 15 minutes. We're 10 seconds in.
All right.
And fiscal responsibility. To kick off, the studio released 3 episodes on D+. Why 3 episodes, you ask? Because the creators continue to stretch 1 episode's worth of plot development over 3 to 4 episodes.
Okay, wait.
What does that mean?
What? They stretched 1 episode of plot development over what?
You can't fit Okay.
But like he
You can't-
doesn't give. Wait, so you've seen this video, right? Like, so does he
I've seen
contextualize
bits
it?
of it. I don't remember this though.
Like, but like he hasn't like given an example of what he means. Like he's just showing a random clip of the opening scene of season 2.
This
And I
is
don't know-
season 2. We're talking about season 3.
Yeah, like what? Like it's just a random. Like he's just using like random footage, and like he's giving no content. Like if he actually used footage that related to what he was talking about, I'd be like, okay. But he's just like spewing random words and showing clips that have like no context. Like I don't really know.
And also, you can't fit in those 3 episodes what into one, because those 3 episodes have a lot of stuff going on. You can't fit everything into one. Like, I would be annoyed if Omega escaped in the very first episode. Like, it took her 3 to get out.
Is he saying this about season 3 or about season 2?
Yes. He's saying this about season 3.
He's saying this about season 3. I don't. That's why I'm confused. Like, why is he showing?
Wait, did I click on the wrong video? Maybe. Wait.
Yeah, like why is he showing footage from like this season 2?
No, this is season 3 because this came out 10 months ago.
What is this clip then? Like, why is he showing?
Why is he using footage from the season 2 trailer? Like, this is. Like, I don't want to, like, be mean because it's like, oh, why didn't you use footage from the different season? But it's like, it's very basic, like, video making. If you're talking about
if
something.
I'm talking about something, I'll use footage or screenshots or whatever, material that's related to what I'm talking about.
Get footage from the season 3 trailer. Why are you showing footage from the season 2 trailer?
Yeah.
And I know this is from the season 2 trailer because I watched that religiously, so I know this is that clip of them running through like the beach, but that's so weird. And it's like,
yeah, I don't know.
And I'm like, I'm trying to think, like, you find me a writer. I don't think anyone can be like, yeah, you can fit that into 3.
So he's saying the first 3 episodes of season 2, the intro, and then like the episode with Hunter and Wrecker, and then Crosshair and Omega and Tantus, that was like 1 episode's worth of story.
Which I genuinely, I cannot.
Unless you made it like an hour-long episode, like the finale, and everything was really rushed. Like
you could rush it and have it be an hour. But if he's saying like a normal like 20-minute episode,
considering the usual runtime of this show's episodes, that makes sense. Like I don't really know why you would say that.
You can't do that in a normal, because episode 1 is basically Omega's life on Tantus and showing how much it sucks. Like it's basically just the setup. Then episode 2 is looking back and seeing how Wrecker and Hunter are doing, and how they're adapting without Omega and specifically Tech and Echo, because it's just the 2 of them. And I don't even really like that episode that much. I feel like it's a little slow, but it serves a function in that story. Like I can't see it like being intercut with like episode 1, because that's still like at the very most you can maybe cut it down to like 15 minutes, but that's still so much time that you're going to be intercutting with. So like that can't be with episode 1. And then episode 3, there's like nothing filler in episode 3. Like that's the Palpatine.
And I feel like just from like a tone standpoint too, like the first episode is so heavy. Like the second one is also quite heavy because it's like these guys dealing with the loss of like essentially a family member, but there's like a little bit more humor in it to like kind of relieve the oppressiveness of Tantus and all that before you go back to that for the 3rd episode. Like I think it makes sense the way they structured it.
Exactly. Yeah, season 2 is more action heavy, and it is very dour because obviously they're dealing with the death of Tech, they're dealing with the loss of Omega, but it's still a relatively different kind of episode. Episode 1 is essentially like a drama. Like it's a like a very slow-paced character study of Omega and I would say Emery as well.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
You can't do that in 3 episodes. Like you can't do those
unless you made it like where the first episode of the whole show was like 90 minutes or whatever. That was like that crazy special long episode. Unless they
that was great. That was like if he's saying that, I'm like, okay, but you essentially did get it. It was just formatted differently.
Yeah, I don't really get
the only difference is that you have to click next episode. That's the only difference. Like if that's what he's complaining about, I don't know what to tell him.
Yeah,
Like,
this guy.
I don't know. It's just you can't tell that in one you can't tell that story in one episode. It's not possible.
It's like he's complaining. Like, this is what I mean when I say, like, I say this all the time, but I'm like, people now have been conditioned because, and we've had this conversation several times, but like the fact that they make these shows like so condensed now, where they're like 5 episodes or something like that. There's so much story content crammed into a limited time. I think this guy's just been conditioned by like all these other shows to think that the story should be more rushed and condensed than it actually should be. So he's like applying that as a criticism when it's actually like a positive thing about the show is that it actually does take its time. Like it should. I don't know what to say.
That's like my one issue with Skeleton Crew. You said that you watched like the beginning of it, right?
I watched the first 6 episodes. Really like it. I like it.
Love it. It's one of my favorite Star Wars shows. Even then, I feel like it could have taken more time because those episodes are like 35 minutes, like on average, and I think they could have gone a little longer. I really like. I don't know. The Mandalorian season 3 especially could have been like an extra 10 minutes on each episode. Like one of those episodes was like 29 minutes or something. Like
there was like that one episode with Lizzo where nothing happened until the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, those last 5 minutes could have taken up maybe like an hour of storytelling.
Yeah, they just rushed it.
It was rushed, and at the same time, not enough was happening, which is weird. Like, I'm saying, like, there's not enough. It's weird. Like, basically, I'm saying they stretched the plot out, and at the same time, it's still not long enough. Like, it's weird. Like, I don't know. But like Bad Batch and Andor are the only shows that actually take its time to talk about the characters. Like, they're the only shows that take their time.
Yeah.
And that's why they're the best ones. Like, that's why they're objectively the best Star Wars shows that at least were made in the Disney era. But
yeah, what else?
The Bad Batch isn't the worst of Disney Star Wars.
Not by a long shot.
I believe the potential for an entertaining.
Okay. So it's at least not the worst.
Everyone prefaces that. Like they always, I hear that so much from people where they're like, Bad Batch isn't the worst. And then they're like, here's like me explaining why it's the worst. Or not really actually doing a good job of explaining it, but just making false claims that it is. I don't know. Like it's the same thing that Sheev did in his video where he's like, I don't think it's that bad, and then he gives it like a 4 out of 10 or something. It's like, what the heck?
It's like, okay, wait. I really hate that scoring system because that's why I really hate using number scores to define why I like something. Like, I remember I gave, like, I don't like doing it. Like, I gave Ahsoka, like, a 9 out of 10, and people are like, how could you like Ahsoka? And I'm like, I like it because it did its job. It entertained me. That's why I gave it a 9, because I really had fun watching it, and it's a movie. It's an art form that sets out to entertain me. That's why I gave it a good score. So it's like, I hate it when people are like, I didn't really hate it, and then they give it a bad score. It's like, what's the point of using a number score if you're not even going to like abide by what would make the score have meaning? Like a 4, if someone said I gave it a 4 out of 10, that would mean like it was bad. And then when you say I don't really have any issues with it, like I never really like hated the show, it's like then you gave it a score that essentially is like it's bad, like it's very, very bad. Like, you got to be consistent.
Yeah, like I agree. I mostly try to just, I don't really like to give scores to things either, but if I do, I try to kind of, like, do it in a way that makes sense to me and which is consistent, obviously. Because, like, I would say, what was something I gave, like, a 5 out of 10? I'm trying to think of something Star Wars-y that I gave that.
Tales of the Empire?
Yeah, Tales of the Empire. Like, that's something where I'm like, okay, this is, I love how you remember that, and I did. So much I forgot about.
I mean, I liked Tales of the Empire, but I remember you not being entirely fond of that show.
I thought it was, like, pretty, like, I don't like the term mid. I think it's really overused, but I'm like, that's what I would call it. Like, I liked the story concepts in it, but they were, again, like, very rushed into this weird short amount of time, and I feel like they should have given it more time to be fleshed out.
I think the Morgan episodes were very well paced, but the Barris ones I felt were...
The Barris ones in particular, yeah, I felt...
That could have been like a whole ass TV show, like not even a miniseries. Like, I would have been fine if that was just like 16 episodes. You could have done so much with that.
You could have, yeah. And they were just like, okay, we want to tell this story, but also, I don't know, they didn't want to like dedicate that much time to it. So they're like, here we go.
Yeah.
Here you go, have like half an hour. And I'm like, are you serious?
Like half an hour of the life of Barris, but like you could have given like another episode of her with the Inquisitor, maybe one before she fell to the dark side, just like color in, because we don't really know why she turned evil yet. Like she just says like the Jedi failed the Republic, and which is like a good point, but we know why she hates because we watched the show with her, but I would have liked to seen her perspective on what made her turn, because like we know the Jedi are bad because we watched the show, but I want to know Barris's perspective specifically.
Yeah,
like one theory.
Sorry, what were you saying?
One theory I always loved is that because people said that the Martez sisters, Luminara unduly killed their parents indirectly when like Zero the Hutt was escaping, they said.
Yeah.
And people were saying, well, maybe Barris was there when it happened and she saw Luminara accidentally kill the sisters of the Martez, the parents of the Martez sisters. And that made her realize that like the Jedi don't care about the lives of the innocent. And that's such a great, like, motivation. I feel that could have been an episode of Tales of the Empire. Like, but I that could have been like one of like 6 episodes. But, I don't know. Like, it feels like we could have seen like her reuniting with Ahsoka, but they didn't even. They mentioned it very like indirectly. Like Barris may have met up with Ahsoka at some point. But we don't even know if she was talking about Ahsoka. She just says, I have a friend, she can help you. Like And it's like I guess they're saving that story, but I feel like that would have been the perfect time to tell it in the Barris miniseries.
Like seemingly dead now. Seemingly.
Probably. I mean, at this point we don't know because lightsabers have like no effect on people.
that's the one shit.
I'm gonna put my money on her not being dead. I would like to think that she's still alive, but only because we've gotten barely any content with her. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Maybe we'll see her in like a Clone Rebellion show if she pops back up again.
She's there. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, but yeah.
Entertaining action-adventure series exists at its core. Perhaps Season 3, the final season, will rise to heights unvisited by its predecessors. But I'll wager, if past performance is the best predictor of future performance, you've located a remedy for insomnia. I'll review the first quarter-ish of The Bad Batch Season 3, whilst I delve into the series' critical flaws.
Okay. I mean...
You got insomnia? Okay. What? Okay.
Like, I don't know. Like, I really hate it when people are like, dude, it was so freaking boring, man. This show was dumb. And then it's like, I don't know. I hate it. I really hate when people are like, it made me sleepy. And it's like, okay, you weren't paying attention then?
But like, wait though. Like, I don't even understand like what he just said. He's like, if the show was so boring that it will give you insomnia or something. It's like, but doesn't insomnia, like, isn't that like indicative of the fact that you don't get enough sleep?
Wait a minute, yeah. Wait.
Like,
Insomnia,
insomnia
is when you can't sleep.
Like, yeah, he's saying like it'll make you not sleep.
That's narcolepsy. I think what he's trying to say is it'll give you narcolepsy, which is when you cannot control falling asleep. Like you just like fall, like you basically just black out.
Yeah.
Insomnia is when you can't sleep.
He's like, this show.
Why is he saying the show will give you insomnia? That's not like he's trying to say it'll bore you. That's like not what insomnia is.
It's the
He
opposite.
doesn't know what insomnia is. I didn't even realize when you said that. I was like, wait, yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. What is he talking about?
I kind of want to comment that now, but I'll do that later. The show will give you insomnia. I'm like, okay, well, so it will leave you like thinking. It'll leave you like wanting more, essentially.
Yeah, it gave me.
He accidentally, basically, like sold the show.
Yeah, when Tech died, I had insomnia from that. I was freaking traumatized, man. I don't know.
Oh my god!
Like I don't know what this guy's on
like,
about.
or maybe he'll saying it's so bad it'll like have you up at night like thinking. But he was saying like it was boring, and also he showed a picture of a guy sleeping. That's not how. Oh my god! I'm trying. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to believe.
We're not even a minute in. Like,
we're not even a minute in, and I'm already like
he's made 50 terrible points, and he's like said,
yes.
he said things that make no sense. Like he said things that are like contradictory to their meaning. Like I don't even know what he's. Okay.
Dude, man, I'm gonna be up tonight with narcolepsy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have.
Oh Jesus! Okay, wait. I got hit so hard. All right, I really hope I don't get hit with content ID. This is revenge.
Welcome to Galactic Initiative. I'm your host, Jeff. Season 3's first episode lingered on Omega's confinement in Mount Tantus.
Oh, he said Omega. Wait.
Why do people do that? Is it like a meme?
Okay, here's the thing. People do. Well, here's the thing. It's a joke about Michelle Ng's accent, and I find it funny. I think it's a funny meme, but my issue is that I feel like him saying it, he's making fun of her. He's not.
Yeah,
laughing.
it's like in a not in like a loving context. Like we're saying this in a.
I say Omega because I think it's adorable. I love Michelle Ng's accent, but I feel like when he's saying it, I don't think he's doing. I think he's making fun of her, and I don't know. Yeah, like when I met Michelle Ng in. First off, when I met her in London for Star
Wars. Oh my god, you met her! I'm so jealous.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
No, I'm just saying I'm so jealous that you met her.
Oh no, it's okay. I met her in London, and I remember her saying like her favorite thing about Omega is one of her favorite things about Omega is like she thinks the Hunter Rika Echo jokes are funny. She's like, oh, I love seeing people's memes about that, and she's like, it always gives me a laugh. So when I met her again in Rhode Island, my friend Miles and I, we wore shirts that said the bad bitch, Omega, Hunter Rika Echo, and Tick. And when we went up to her, she's like, I don't sound like that. She's like, that's not what I sound like. And like we did it because it was like she understood it was a joke. But I feel like here it's not like he's like being it to be playful.
It's like mocking. It's
almost like he's mocking her, which like that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
What's your problem with New Zealand people, Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah, Jeff. What's your issue, buddy?
Oh boy.
After Dr. Hemlock captured her in the final episode of Season 2. E1 established Dr. Hemlock.
Why is he showing Season 1 footage? We're talking about Season 3.
What the fuck? Why does he keep doing this? He's like talking about Dr. Hemlock and does like a clip of Palpatine. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Wait, I'm actually going to make this a little bit faster just so we can hear him talk, but not so we're here all night. But so wait.
Hemlock's urgency, Nala Se's exploitation, and Omega's daily routine, which included smuggling a stuffy, assisting a lab, visiting Crosshair, and befriending a Lurkahound. To be fair, all the details paid off in the third episode, but they could have been shown at 3 times the speed for 3 times the impact.
Wait, why are you complaining if you said it all paid off?
Why? It all paid off, but I didn't like that they built it up so that it could be paid off.
You do realize the whole point of showing it multiple times was to show the repetitive nature of her routine. It's meant to show that, oh, it's boring. Like Omega is the same stuff every day.
Yeah, it's like.
It's also meant to show her development because the first segment is her like basically her first week at Tantus, and she's very like annoyed with Emery because she's very stubborn. And then we jump forward 6 months later, and we see that essentially Tantus has broken her spirit, and Omega's basically given up, and she's essentially just like desensitized to being on Tantus, because the first scene Emery asks, "How are you doing?" and she says, "I feel like a prisoner. I want to go home." And then when we jump forward, when Emery greets her, Omega's like very monotone. She's like, "I'm fine, thank you." Like, we see that she's basically given up.
Yeah.
And that's why the repetitive nature works so well, because we're seeing how it's affected her over time.
Yeah.
The repetitive nature serves a purpose.
Yeah, it's like it's narratively relevant, and also like what, like, yeah, you're right. Like, he just said, like, it's like a contradictory statement. He's like, it was built up and it paid off well, but I don't like that they built it up. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's the whole point of payoffs, is that they need to be built up so that they're like, it actually feels like a payoff and it actually makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And each scene, I can't say that the two scenes of her visiting Crosshair are repetitive, because those two scenes fill two different purposes. The first scene is when she is trying to ignore, where Crosshair's trying to ignore her, then we see that he has a tremor with his hand. And in the second scene, we see that Crosshair almost like tries to like give validity to his punishment, that he deserves it, and he doesn't believe he's like Hunter or Wrecker or Tech, because he isn't good enough, because he says, "I'm not them," and he says, "Omega, I deserve to be here." And those two scenes fill two different functions, so they're not repetitive, like, they're factually not.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time he ever calls her by her name.
It is the first, because he always calls her the kid beforehand.
It's him showing her like real empathy for kind of the first time, like when he's like, in a sense that, like, obviously he saved her in season 1 and whatnot, but like he was still kind of like, I don't know, passive aggressive, for lack of a better word. Like, he was always like kind of like but now it's like, this is the first time that he's actually like full on being open and honest with her, which is like a pretty important moment for his character.
It's incredibly important for his character. So yeah, I don't understand the point of calling it repetitive. Like, it's not. It's factually not repetitive.
That's the point. Like, great, you noticed it. Good job. Nice.
Like, you're like, this is just straight up like not valid criticism. This isn't like, oh, you have an opinion, I agree, disagree. Like, you're factually wrong.
Somebody's factually wrong. Like, he's factually right, but he's applying something that is like narratively relevant and like deliberate, and applying that as a criticism, which doesn't make any sense. Like, so why are you?
Yeah. Like, stop lying. If you weren't lying, we'd respect you more.
Yeah, if you weren't twisting the context.
Filler is an understated description of the Bad Batch, and by far.
But it's not filler. It's not. Every single scene in the first episode serves a purpose. Can you show us an example of there being filler in the first episode? Like, I'm not gonna lie and pretend that every episode of Bad Batch isn't filler. I think there are some episodes that I think are pretty bad. Like, I think in season 1, the episode with the bugs in the Pike Syndicate, I think that episode's pretty bad, but that's one. That's like one episode in season 1 I can say that is like most definitely filler.
I think the worst episode is the first one where Fennec is introduced, because like the only purpose that an entire episode served was just to have Fennec show up. Like, that was it. It was just
I thought that Fennec is important to the show, and it helps the characters realize that Omega is being hunted. Like, that's what kind of guides them into meeting Sid, and then obviously Sid is a very important part of that show, so it would make sense that Fennec is like the jumping off point for when the show starts to like form an identity.
That's true. I didn't actually think about it. Like, she was kind of the catalyst.
But like, and also like the episode is still fun. Like, the speeder sequence of them like in the not the highway, because it's not a highway, but them and the lanes like fighting on the spears was really fun. You have the intercut sequence of Echo with the droids and little Clink, who's great. I love Clink.
Yeah.
So like that episode wasn't like it you can argue it was filler, but it wasn't really bad. It was
No, I think my defense for the bug episode was always that like it developed the dynamic with the Bad Batch and Sid, and like that she kind of cared about Omega and them to an extent, but that kind of goes out the window when
it doesn't age very well.
No, like that's and it's like, and it kind of like I didn't really love that they kept like trying to hit on that point, like in season 2 where they had the racing episode, and it was just like another example of like, oh look, the Bad Batch, they're going out of their way to be nice to Sid, and she's untrustworthy, and I'm like, yeah, we know. It's like thanks for hitting on that point. Like if they hadn't hit on that point several times again, I'd be like, okay, that episode's fine. But yeah, it hasn't aged well because it's
like I'm okay with the concept of the Batch trying to give Sid a second chance repeatedly, but that episode is just so inconsistent, especially considering where they take Sid. So like if you remove that episode, the show would be better for it. Like it doesn't,
because they didn't go with the Sid has a heart of gold route. They went with the Sid is an asshole.
Yeah. So like every episode in season 2 with her is like her actively throwing the Bad Batch under the bus. So it's like if you remove that episode with the Pikes, the show would work better. So I don't know.
But it introduced what's his name? Durand.
Durand.
And he was relevant later because he
helped. I don't know. I felt like you wouldn't have to watch that episode to understand who he was in season 3. Like it's very like it's an opening like mission. Like you don't really need to understand like
I see it as, in a way, I see that as like him repaying a debt because Omega saved his life.
I did like that. I did like that he had a little like reflection and he seemed a little remorseful.
Yeah.
But
I think that's why it was important, because when he gave them the info about Omega or where Helmlock's whereabouts were, he was like, "Oh, I hope you find who you're looking for."
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an acknowledgement of that, which I liked, you know. But
I liked Roland. Was pretty much the only thing out of that episode I liked, because he was pretty endearing. Like he was he was a nice character. I appreciated that he wasn't like a mustache twirling villain. Like he was just like a guy who had a job. Yeah, he was just a guy down on his luck.
Probably a better guy than Sid, actually. Like,
I'd say he was a better character than Sid.
If the Bad Batch ended up with Roland, they probably wouldn't have been turned into the Empire. Like,
they probably not. Like he was a man of his word. He didn't really go out of his way to hurt them. Like he seemed like a chill guy. He only hated them because they came to like interrupt his business. Like he had to kick Sid out because he had a job to do.
Yeah.
Then the Batch had to go fuck with him. Like not really his fault, but no, I would agree. Roland is probably a better person than Sid.
Oh yeah.
Its most obvious flaw. Fans experienced the same evolutionary pace with the production team's previous animated series, Resistance. Dave Filoni and Jennifer...
Do not compare Bad Batch to Resistance. Please don't.
I've never even seen Resistance, but that feels like a massive middle finger to Bad Batch.
It is. Resistance, I defend a lot of Disney Star Wars. Resistance is awful. It is a really, really rough show. I know some people do like Resistance, but it is not good. It is I can't really say a single thing in that show that I like. There are some concepts I think are cool, but it's ultimately like a failure. That was a show that got canceled. Like that people hated that show.
Yeah.
But there's like one scene I like. I like the scene with Kylo Ren. That one was cool. But that's pretty much it.
Orbit stretched 2-hour films into 16 episode seasons. The former took the same approach with Ahsoka, but he's Lucasfilm's chief creative officer, so audiences must suffer long intervals of nothingness for short bursts of...
What? So his argument is Bad Batch should have just been a movie.
Bad Batch took too much time to tell its story.
Bad Batch took its time, man.
He keeps like, I think that he thinks stories should be rushed. Like, they shouldn't have narrative buildup to their payoffs. They should just have setup and payoff with nothing in between. Like,
exactly.
That's all he wants, apparently, which is like really stupid. Like,
it is really stupid. Yeah.
It should be. He's saying Bad Batch should be a 2.5. How?
You can't fit that. You can't make that. You can't have that. That can't work as a film. Bad Batch wouldn't work as a film.
Like, he's shown footage of Ahsoka, and I kind of agree with him there. I kind of agree with him on that front. Like, I think Ahsoka might have like worked structurally better as a movie, but Bad Batch, no. Like,
I don't think Ahsoka would have worked as like. I'm trying to think like what would they cut from Ahsoka? People always point to the episode, which I guess, but that episode still served a function. It served to like. I just think Ahsoka works better like pacing wise as a show. Like you can't really cut anything from Ahsoka. Like episode 4 is pretty important. And it's like, I feel like just as a movie, it would just be too long. Like, episode, like, you wouldn't meet Thrawn until, like, the 3rd act. And I feel like that would just be, like, he would have almost no screen time to develop. And I guess all of the 2nd act would be Ahsoka in, like, the world between worlds. Like, that would just be so ugly.
I don't think you needed the whole 3rd episode being, like, a chase.
They could have just showed up, I guess, but I don't know. I just like the space battle. Like, I think it's just some of the best space combat we've gotten. So, like, I don't really feel comfortable cutting all that, because, like, I thought it was a very, like, dynamic space battle. So, like, I think it honestly worked better as a TV show. I think Kenobi, that would have worked better as a movie. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I think Kenobi was... Yeah, that did not work as a show. Skeleton Crew maybe could have been a movie, possibly, but I don't know. Like I
kind of watched it as a
mean,
movie.
I feel like
I just binged like the 6 episodes at once. Like it kind of works in that sense, but I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I could see Skeleton Crew maybe being a movie, but as a show, it works perfectly fine. The Book of Boba, maybe. If they stuck with just the Boba plotline, it could have been a movie.
Boba.
But I don't know. I don't like the concept of the show is spinning its wheels, and it's like the stuff that it's doing is character development. Like I don't agree with that at all.
This show has character development. How dare you?
The show needs to be the broad strokes and the broad strokes only.
Of forward progress. The 2nd episode presented an irrelevant attempt by Hunter and Wrecker to locate Omega. They encountered young clones at a devastated Imperial base, where a failed experiment called Slithervine surrounded a MacGuffin. The killer plants almost prevented the duo from accessing a control panel that might have revealed Omega's coordinates.
What was the MacGuffin? What is he talking about?
I think they needed... I forgot that episode existed, but... I forgot the 3rd act of the episode, but I think they needed to extract like the coordinates of Hemlock's base from the terminal.
I wouldn't categorize that as a MacGuffin. That's like a narrative goal. Like that's like a goal. Like that's like a MacGuffin is normally used to describe like an object of interest, right? Like a basically not exactly a plot device, but something that everyone's after. I don't really think that suits that description.
Yeah.
Goal that
it's
they
just
have.
A thing.
Yeah.
Also, like, there's
yeah.
There's the oh my god, there's the like he's saying it's irrelevant, but it's really not. It's meant to show Hunter and Wrecker how they are reacting to seeing Omega, like how they're reacting without Omega, like how they function as a team after losing their squad. It's not really irrelevant.
No, like I'm trying to think of like so an irrelevant attempt. Like in a sense, he's right, because their attempt to rescue her doesn't go anywhere because she gets to them anyway. But like, I liked the way that the episode like reinforced like the themes of the show. Like they met those young clones and they helped them out, and they were like, "You've got your own path now," just like they've kind of found their own path along the way. Like I thought the themes were on point there. But
Yeah,
like,
it was consistent.
Like it just shows that they got like they're like still looking. Like that's kind of the point. Like that you needed to see those guys and how they were feeling in lieu of everything that happened in season 2, and also like show like what it's like for them. Like they have not rested. Like they've been going around nonstop trying to find her. You know, like it wouldn't have had the same impact if, I don't know, Omega just showed up and they were like chilling somewhere. They're like, "Oh wow, hey, how's it going?" Like
that wouldn't have worked, because it would have been like, oh, okay, we haven't seen Hunter and Wrecker in a while, but I guess they're back. Like they had to explore both of them, what it was like for them to be apart.
Both sides, yeah. Like if they had the line at the end of the 4th episode where Hunter says, "We never stopped searching," that would not be powerful at all if we didn't see that. Like the fact that we saw they were nonstop searching for her, just like he said they would. Like oh god, I that's such a weird point, saying it's irrelevant.
That is
like
criticism.
It's okay, sure, buddy. Like I don't know what to say to that.
In the end, Hunter and Wrecker obtained a sector name, not a planet's name. The young clones might return to the narrative at some point. This installment followed the show's primary formula: land, face an unexpected challenge, accomplish a task, and leave. Familiar, ephemeral. The 3rd episode featured a visit from Emperor Palpatine and Omega's escape. Mount Tantus accommodated Project Necromancer, an absurd retcon to support the sequels, specifically the rise.
What?
A retcon?
A retcon? Okay.
What?
People need to learn the difference. I'm going to say this right now. People need to learn the difference between a retcon and an addition to the lore. A retcon supersedes something and basically gaslights you into thinking it was there the whole time, or it replaces something and could possibly create an inconsistency. Project Necromancer adds to the Rise of Skywalker storyline. It adds something we already knew was there, that Palpatine was making clones of himself. They're basically saying this was the project it was, and this was how he functioned with that storyline. Yeah. Like, that's not a retcon. That is an addition to the lore. You are, again, flat out incorrect.
He's like using the wrong words. Like, I don't know. Like,
He's straight up using the wrong vocabulary. That's not a retcon. Nothing is being what has been retconned?
We already knew that Palpatine ended up as a clone, and now we're learning how he ended up as a clone.
If you don't like the Rise of Skywalker storyline, just say that. I didn't like it, but we have to function with it. It's not going anywhere. It's part of the lore now, so we have to work with it.
Like I hate to tell you, but it's there, and you gotta live with it.
I don't like Rise of Skywalker, but guess what? I don't function. I don't move on with my life by being a child. I just say, well, I don't like that movie. We got to move on now.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's the thing about being a fan of so many things. When one thing disappoints you, there's gonna be another thing you like.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Palpatine cloning thing was not the most like interesting part of the show, but it like I thought that it like the way that they kind of like how am I trying to explain this? Like the way that they centered the story or like worked the story around that, I thought was effective.
Yeah, like, it wasn't like the focus; it was a backdrop.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't really think that's a great point.
Yeah, me neither.
Rise of Skywalker.
A crummy commercial?
Before anyone initiates,
so he's basically saying it's a commercial for Rise of Skywalker, but again, it's not
How
true.
can it be a commercial for something that's already in existence?
Yeah, it already happened.
Like that
It's a sneak peek because that movie already came out. Like, yeah, we already saw that movie.
What does that mean, dude? Like that's when you say something like, what like people often use that in the context of like part 1, part 2s, right? Like I've seen that recently about Mission Impossible. People are like, oh, the last Mission Impossible was just a trailer for the next one. And I'm like,
God.
okay, like, I'm so sick of hearing that, but I guess you're not using incorrect terminology there, because like that is something that preceded this thing that is going to exist. But like, how can you call the Bad Batch a trailer for something that already exists? Like that
Exactly.
doesn't make sense.
So dumb. It's
It's like saying Mission Impossible 8 is a trailer for Mission Impossible 7. It's like,
wait. Yeah, that's a great analogy for
what are you talking about?
A well actually comment, allow me to reassure you, dear viewers. I realize Wayland housed a secret cloning lab thanks to Timothy Zahn's original Thrawn trilogy of novels. However, Zahn had nothing to do with Project Necromancer, an alibi for the sequel's Force, Clone, Essence, Dyad,
Okay,
What?
but Heir to the Empire isn't canon.
What? How is that relevant to anything he's talking about?
Basically, he's saying it makes no sense that Palpatine clones are on Mount Tantus because that wasn't a thing before.
That wasn't a thing in the thing. That was a thing. That wasn't a thing in the thing that is no longer canon.
Yeah, there weren't Palpatine clones in Heir to the Empire, but that's because Heir to the Empire isn't relevant anymore. Well, I mean,
it's a different story.
yeah, that's not. I didn't use the right term. It's not part of the continuity anymore. So why would it have Palpatine clones? Like, yeah, they're using a storyline from a pre-existing
story concept.
Yeah, they're using a concept, but it serves a different function. That's not a bad thing.
Well, the thing is, it doesn't even serve a different function because Wayland housed like Luke clones. Like they were still doing cloning there, so it's similar in like a certain sense to what they're doing there. It's just cloning a different person.
Yeah, that makes no sense. It's like, of course, the I don't know. It's so
Okay.
transfer garbage. One problem is Filoni's cherry picking and retconning. In other words, shoehorned Project Necromancer is the concern, not serviceable Mount Tantus. From Star Wars history, Filoni happily, regularly pirates interesting details of superior creators, but he won't.
But
this isn't Filoni.
yeah, Filoni has nothing to do with the Bad Batch. Like,
no, I know. I hate that people say that. Like, it's like, did you read anything about the show? It's Jennifer Corbett. Like
Jennifer Corbett and Brad Rao.
Oh my god.
And also I hate it when people were like, they're ripping off Heir to the Empire by using Mount Tantus. And I'm like, no, it's an homage.
It's called borrowing a story concept and recontextualizing it to fit the current narrative.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Like I don't really know what this guy's talking about.
I'd like to imagine this guy watching like The Mandalorian, and when the Dark Troopers showed up, he was like, oh, they're ripping off the Legends because the Dark Troopers are in it, even though it's like, yeah, they borrowed something that existed beforehand. It's like, imagine it's like if I watched the Book of Boba Fett and Din Djarin showed up, and I'm like, they're stealing from the Mandalorian because Din Djarin showed up. It's like, no.
Boba Fett being in the Mandalorian is ripping off the original trilogy because he was in the original.
Yeah, exactly. It's like no, you.
Like, what is this? What is this standard? Like, this thing that was in another thing is in this thing, and therefore that means you're ripping off the thing. Like, what the fuck? What are you?
I would agree with you if Mount Tantus served the same function, where it's just the same story again, where they have Luke clones, and it's just like, no, Mount Tantus serves a completely different function now.
Different characters are involved. None of the characters from the original story are relevant to this story. Like, other than Palpatine to an extent, I guess. Like,
technically,
I don't really know.
I don't know, like, Heir to the Empire isn't going to be, or whatever the new Thrawn movie coming out is going to be, it's not going to be a ripoff of the Timothy Zahn book, because aside from Grand Admiral Thrawn is the main villain, nothing is the same. It's not about Luke Skywalker. Well, maybe. Leia isn't in it. Kashyyyk's not going to be in it. Like, the new stuff has Ahsoka, new characters that didn't even exist back then. Like, no one knew who Sabine and Ezra Bridger were. They weren't even conceived yet. Like, yeah. It's not going to be a ripoff of Heir to the Empire just because it's paying homage and going to serve a similar function. That's not the same thing.
Yeah, like, I remember when they like confirmed in season 2 or whatever, when they like name dropped Tantus or they said like the name of it, I was like, I think I made a video at the time and I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of a cool nod to Heir to the Empire. I liked that. I like acknowledgement of other works. That's pretty fun. I wasn't like, they're ripping off Heir to the Empire because they used a location name. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you on about? Like,
I remember, I think it actually leaked, the name Tantus leaked in storyboards, like, because it was in the end of season 1.
Yeah,
And the storyboards were called Mount Tantus Exterior. And people were like, wait, Mount Tantus? As in, like, Heir to the Empire? So, like, that's what got people thinking. So, and then the first time it was actually mentioned within the show was when Hemlock first showed up.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm now in control of Tantus.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, Tantus doesn't, it's not a ripoff or like a retcon.
No.
Appropriate their full immersive storylines. Kathleen Kennedy looks at Star Wars and sees only its superficial characteristics: lightsabers, starships, and aliens. Filoni should know better. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Star Wars in whole is legendary storytelling, not an uninspired collection of sci-fi particulars.
But you've done nothing to back up that point.
What is that? What do you like? Yeah, and also, what does that point have to do with anything? And also, why do you keep bringing up people that are completely irrelevant to this show?
Kathleen Kennedy doesn't understand Star Wars.
She doesn't even give a shit. She's not even involved at all in this.
She's not involved with this show.
Neither is Dave.
Do with it.
Why does he say this? He's just like name dropping people that are involved in the like studio or the franchise who have no direct involvement in this show that he's talking about. Like,
yeah, it's just it's buzzwords. It's the textbook definition of using buzzwords.
Yeah, he just wants to get it right.
Whoa, Kathleen Kennedy, virtue signaling. It's like, okay, we get it, bud. Nice. We get it, bud. You hate women. Can we move on?
God.
Think of poor Echo, who Filoni jammed into the Bad Batch for nostalgia purposes without a character arc in mind.
What?
What the fuck?
Why
is no character arc? He doesn't do anything.
Echo didn't do anything in the Bad Batch.
Echo didn't freaking carry the whole team at the end of the freaking season. I guess this is before that happened, but still.
Why? Yeah, but then again, why are you reviewing something when the season isn't over?
Yeah, he's like making these claims without like having seen the finished story.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. I get it. Echo was underused, but he wasn't the main character. And also the fact they're like, oh, Dave Filoni only included him for fan service. Like, no. Dave Filoni, oh my god. The Bad Batch storyline was already made before this show came out. Echo was already a part of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, in the Clone Wars.
He wasn't included to be like, hey, look at this guy. Look at this. Do you remember this? Things I know. Like, that's not why Echo was included.
If anything, what happened is Dave Filoni or whoever was like writing that storyline in the Clone Wars, brought Echo back at the end of that show, and then the writers of the Bad Batch had to work with that choice. Because it's true that like maybe in their original idea for the show, these people who were writing the show, maybe they, didn't really want Echo to be part of the team, but he is now, so you've got to work with that. Like, I don't really know. And like, as far as that goes, I think that they incorporated him into the story in like a relevant way, like in a significant way thematically, because he was a very important influence for Omega in particular. Like the fact that she goes off at the end, like her choice in the last scene is to go off and fight. If Echo wasn't in her life, she probably wouldn't have made that choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like he was important.
And also it's just like, I get that the original vision for Clone Wars Season 7 was not to have Echo join the Bad Batch, from my understanding. I remember in the animatics, Echo stayed with the 501st, and then when they finished up that arc in 2020, they changed it so Echo ended up joining the Bad Batch.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
I think that was like a small change because I remember in the original ending to that story, it was the medal ceremony. But then they changed it, and Obi-Wan was like, "Oh, we have some medals to give you boys later," or something. Like he was referencing that there was going to be a medal ceremony, and then it ends with Echo saying he wanted to stay with the Bad Batch, which, I could see maybe Corbett when they were working on season 1 of that show, they could have been like, actually, maybe Echo stays with the Bad Batch, and we can have that dynamic.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't think their motivation was we want Echo to be just fan service. Like, I don't think that was their intention. Because, like, by that logic, every clone was a pre-existing character. So it was essentially
Yeah,
just...
you can say the same about Rex and Gregor and Wolf.
Even the Bad Batch, because they already existed. So it's like...
The whole show is nostalgia bait because it has the clones.
So if Echo was meant to be nostalgia bait, by that logic, the entirety of the Bad Batch is too. But that's not your argument. You're only singling Echo out. Why are you only singling Echo out?
Because he was like... Well, here's the thing. I don't even understand this when people say that, like, Echo was like, oh, he was my favorite from the Clone Wars. He was such an important, significant character. And I'm like, I hardly remember his scenes. Like, the Bad Batch made Echo into a character. Like,
yeah, Echo wasn't that important in the Clone Wars. He was in Rookies, he was in the Camino arc, and he was in the Citadel arc. He was in like 4 episodes of Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was Rookies, Clone Cadets, ARC Troopers, the Citadel, and Counterattack. He was in 5. Before the Bad Batch story, he was in 5 episodes of like 120. He was not important at all.
There's not really, and like you can say that, you know, oh, like he had that funny trait of like repeating orders, and that
was in 1 episode. That was in 1 episode.
1 episode where they had this reference, this kind of joke, how he got his name. And then other than that, like he didn't have much characterization other than the fact that he was like a loyal soldier and what this and that. But like the Bad Batch, like
with every
belief system, like the Bad Batch explored like what he believed in and his loyalty complex and how he couldn't leave the other clones behind, and you know he had these mixed loyalties between the Bad Batch and the rest of his brothers, and you know like they actually like gave him more of a character, you know.
Yeah, like that scene where when they're about to abandon Gregor and they're like, we need to regroup, and Echo is like, well, you guys didn't leave me behind. I don't see why we should leave Gregor behind. Like, that's an amazing scene, and that wouldn't have even existed if Echo wasn't in the Bad Batch storyline.
No. Or like, a small moment that I love that a lot of people don't talk about is in, I think it's episode 10. What is it called? It's called like,
Common Ground.
Common Ground, yeah. When they are like sent on that mission, and Echo the whole time is like, oh, this is a bad idea. I don't like these separatist guys. They tortured me, this and that. And then at the end, when the senator is like, oh, I can't abandon my people. Like, I got to stay here and fight. And then Echo goes up to him and says, live to fight another day. And that's what Heavy, or not Heavy, what was it? Hard Case said, right? That's a bit of a callback in a sense.
That was great. Yeah, I loved that. That was one of Echo's better episodes. But again, we wouldn't have known that.
All subtle bit of like personal growth for him was moving past his own biases and like growing as a person. I don't know. Like there's a lot of moments like that I love with his character.
Yeah, and I would argue that built toward him wanting to help Emery instead of just abandoning her. He wanted to redeem her.
Yeah.
Like that was a great scene where he calls her out and gives her a chance, and they have like they're basically the buddy cop duo in the finale.
Yeah, that was great. When he's like, "Why are you helping me?" and she's like, "I'm trying to do the right thing." I love that.
Yeah, that was great, and I they have a great dynamic, and I feel like if we see more of them in a future show, they're gonna have a really great relationship. I feel like they're gonna be really close with each other. So like I don't know, I don't agree with Echo being wasted or used for only nostalgia bait. That doesn't even make any sense.
Another problem, despite its recent bluster about satisfying audiences, Disney wallows in its failures with prolonged retroactive attempts to condone and contextualize the work of J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. The Mandalorian Season 3, Shadow of the Sith novel, and Darth Vader comics exemplify such efforts. Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger are trying to perform necromancy on the sequels. Nonsense.
That's not...
What? Huh?
Basically, they're not ignoring it. They're not like... They're not pretending it doesn't exist. Like, yeah, it's part of the lore now. We can't just ignore it. I would be kind of annoyed if they ignored it. You kind of have to acknowledge it.
But that's like what I don't understand. Is like earlier he said something along the lines of what was more important to them instead of telling like an actual compelling story on its own was shoving in the necromancer subplot. And I'm like, but it's not like a subplot. Like it's the driving force of the plot for like Omega and raising the stakes for the group, like for the main characters. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not like it's this little side plot that they just kind of shoved in to like try and retroactively fix the sequels. It's like, no, they took this bit of lore that now exists and like worked it into their story. Okay, like I don't understand how that's a problem.
Also, he mentions The Mandalorian Season 3, but Project Necromancer was barely a part of that storyline. It was mentioned
a
once.
one-off line.
Yeah, they mentioned Commandant Hux working on it. They mentioned Brendel Hux. They're like, oh, Grand Admiral Thrawn will herald in the re-emergence of our military and provide Commandant Hux enough time to deliver on Project Necromancer. And then they ended it.
Like, that was a one-off line.
It was an Easter egg. Like, it was just, by the way, Hux is out there and he's working on Palpatine clones. And then Hux implies that Moff Gideon was the one who was supposed to deliver the research, and then Gideon kind of did his own thing, which is what led into him cloning himself, which I would agree that was underused plot material.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really have anything to do with the sequels.
That's just unrelated to the sequels and the Bad Batch, which is what the topic of the video is.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know.
Okay. By the way, this chat here, Bad Batch literally cannot disappoint. It's too peak. I absolutely agree.
Who said that? Matthias! Oh my god, Matthias is in the chat. I love Matthias. He's great.
Hey, Matthias, I agree with you.
He's a great guy. We've been friends all the way back on Twitter, and we're still in touch. He's awesome. But no, yeah, Bad Batch is too peak. It's too good, and this guy is not doing a great job defending.
This guy's not peak. You're honored to be. Well, so am I.
Not peak.
Sense. Every sequel film should have told a complete story, an explanation for
Somehow Palpatine returned.
belonged in The Rise of Skywalker, not in The Bad Batch for you.
But it's not. It doesn't exist to explain it. That's not what The Bad Batch is doing.
No, and like if anything, it shows like why. Like that's the thing I don't understand. Is like the point of The Bad Batch, like. It's once again, it's weird that this video exists to begin with because he's like nitpicking about things that are set up in the first 3 episodes of season 3 without having seen the entire story play out. But the point by the end of the season is that the Bad Batch are the reason why the project wasn't a complete success because they destroyed all the freaking research. Like that's the point. You know, like that. It's why Palpatine was a rotting zombie clone instead of being like a fully perfected, awesome clone. It's because the Bad Batch threw a wrench in the works. It's like the whole point.
Yeah, so, and it's not like the whole like purpose of the season is to explain it. It's just like an extra tidbit for you.
It's kind of a tidbit, but like it's also relevant. You know?
Yeah, it's relevant. It's not like it's forcing it like into forcing monkey wrenches into it to be like. This show only exists to explain Palpatine's return. Like, no. It certainly helps, but it's the story about this group of clones and them learning to become father figures. That's the purpose. It's not about Palpatine and Project Necromancer.
Palpatine's in, like, one scene, and you don't even see what the thing in the tank is, like what the project is.
Because it's not important.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I would have
so
preferred to
irrelevant
see
to
it.
the story. Like it's just this thing that's like a driving force for the plot. They were like, oh, if they'd shown like, I don't know, an image of like a floating Palpatine clone in a tank, they're like, okay, that would have actually been a little bit too much because that's not really what the story's about, and it's actually distracting from it. It's like, okay, we need to know what this project is. The fact that Palpatine showed up personally to inspect it shows that it's very important to him, and by extension, Hemlock, because Hemlock wants a promotion, basically. So, like, I don't.
That's the whole show. Just some guy really wants a promotion.
That's literally what he is. So it's like I don't freaking know what the point is here. Like, yeah, it's in the show, but it's not the point of the show.
Yeah, something being in the show doesn't mean that it's holding the show hostage. It just exists. It's
Yeah,
sufficient.
and because it wasn't even like a thing in the, like, let's say the opening scene of the show was Palpatine flying into Tantus and looking at something and being like, okay, start work on this thing. Then it would be like, okay, the show's bookended with this. It was set up from the beginning. It's like, no, it wasn't even relevant to like the entire first season, basically. Hinted at loosely in season 2, kind of. And now it's like, now it's kind of hinted at more strongly, but it's still not really like a major thing. Like, I don't even understand that. Like saying that basically it's the focus of the show is explaining something that is in another piece of media. Because like,
it's not even the whole purpose of Tantus, because Tantus also had the Zillo Beast, which we know they were cloning because they wanted to make stronger armor for stormtroopers, and obviously that didn't end up working out. Because,
they were doing a whole bunch of sketchy shit. That's the point.
Yeah, they were doing a bunch of goofy shit on Tantus. It wasn't just Palpatine clones. They were like conditioning operatives. Like Tantus had more than one purpose. It wasn't just retconning Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
So it's so like it's basically just this guy is basically purposefully misinterpreting the story so he can get mad.
Yeah,
it's essentially what it is.
Years later, Project Necromancer has already ruined several productions through its spurious mandated inclusion. Furthermore, let's be honest, the scheme intends to rescue Rey Palpatine and justify Galaxy's Edge, more than it aims to entirely save the sequel trilogy. Disney can't.
What the fuck does this have to do with Galaxy's Edge?
What does that even mean? What is he talking about?
What is the show about the silly clone troopers have to do with the park in Florida? Galaxy's Edge has nothing to do with the Bad Batch.
This show is justifying a theme park, guys. What? How do you justify a
I don't get it. It's like,
okay.
Oh my god! It's like, oh, remember the Galactic Star Cruiser? It's like, yeah, that was bad, but that has nothing to do with this show.
What is he talking about anymore? Like, it hurts my brain.
It's just, I swear to God, if he mentions like the Acolyte or something, I'm just gonna lose it.
Oh.
Well, actually, wait, this came out before the Acolyte, so it probably wasn't on his mind yet.
Oh, that's good.
Can't abandon its Mary Sue to tell a story that fans will truly enjoy, like the original Thrawn trilogy. Papa Palps was a welcome sight, and fortunately, the creators treated him with respect. The big reveal.
He had like
what?
He had like 3 lines. What are you talking about?
Okay, I'll agree. Like, okay, yeah, it's cool that like they got Ian McDermott back and he was there and he didn't overstay his welcome narratively. But like, I wouldn't like. If I'm criticizing the show, I wouldn't say my one positive thing is that Palpatine was the welcome person.
My one criticism is that Palpatine wasn't out of character in his 5 seconds of screen time. Like, yeah, no shit, buddy. Like,
he didn't do anything.
He had 2 lines. It was, I am most eager to see what you have for me, and they lack the vision. All in due time. Like, that was all
he said.
He
didn't do anything.
It's like, yeah, like, I don't understand what your issue is. Like, I don't know.
Matthias says
Omega's force sensitivity or force conductivity was expected and thus.
What'd you say?
Oh no, I'm just reading what Matthias said here. He says the guy making the original says the Project Necromancer was mandated, and it's like I'm pretty sure that it's just writers using an opportunity to expand on something that's pretty underutilized.
If Project Necromancer is mandated, we would have seen it in Skeleton Crew, or not the Acolyte actually, but like we would have seen it in Ahsoka. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what do you mean by mandated?
It was mandated that they had a line alluding to it in Mando, and that it was like kind of a plot point in Bad Batch.
Wait a minute. It wasn't mandated because I just realized now. Remember what I said earlier about animation taking a long ass time to develop? So the character models were being made in like September of 2019. That was before Rise of Skywalker came out, and they realized that, oh shit, we need to do damage control and like fix Palpatine's return. Meaning they probably already had a script finished, and it were going to include Mount Tantus before Rise even came out. And they knew it was going to fumble. Meaning it was not damage control, and they were planning it already.
Yeah, you're right, actually. So, like, when Mando named...
Also, Mando was already out doing...
Mando was meant to be a reference to Bad Batch.
Maybe it was meant to be a reference for Bad Batch, and they changed it later to just... But Mando was also doing cloning subplots, because even, before Rise of Skywalker released... They were experimenting on Baby Yoda and stuff.
Yeah.
So they were already doing cloning stuff. Like, this was already part of their plan before Rise came out, and they were doing damage control. Like,
yep.
It's not... Oh my god. I'm getting a little heated. I'm fine. I'm better.
I can't believe I'm defending Rise of Skywalker.
I can't believe I'm defending Rise of Skywalker.
What have we done? What has this guy done to us? What the fuck?
Yeah. I'm defending a dog-ass movie. Doo-doo-ass movie.
Gosh.
The big reveal, Omega's force sensitivity or force conductivity, was expected and thus anticlimactic. Nala...
What? How is it expected?
Also, wait. Her...
She's not force sensitive, though. She's not.
He said force conductivity. He said force sensitivity or
sensitivity and conductivity. He said both.
I mean, I think. Wait. Let me rewind it. I want to see if he
force sensitivity or force conductivity.
Or okay.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that's. I know where he's going with this, and I'm not gonna be happy. Like, he's gonna basically say Omega is woke. I'm not gonna be excited for that.
But even if he's saying, okay, her force sensitive, like if he's implying that she's force sensitive, the whole point that the show makes later is that she literally is not. So I don't.
Yeah, Venture said that, and again, this was made before that episode came out, but he didn't wait to review the whole show, so he doesn't.
It's just that her blood was compatible with Palpatine's. That's why they wanted it, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they needed like she had like a high M count, and they needed to combine her blood with Palpatine's blood, so she was just a compatible donor. That was the only.
Or it wasn't even like the M count wasn't even really a factor, right? It was literally just that like her blood acted as a binder for Palpatine's blood to the clone, like without degrading. So like the M count wasn't even really that relevant. It was just the fact that her blood like served their purposes, you know?
Yeah. Which I mean, I guess Omega's woke because her blood is perfect. Like, if that's the argument he's gonna make, that Omega.
This blood is so woke, bro.
This blood is woke. I mean, like, yeah, technically, but if that's where we're at, and like, also, that's not a good thing. Having like blood that'll bring back Space Hitler is not a good thing. Like, oh, you have blood that will doom the galaxy. Like, that's not a thing to be commended for. That's not
what a Mary Sue. What a woke guy here, or woke girl. She's got blood that's gonna resurrect Hitler.
Look at this little Polynesian cutie.
Oh my god.
Was expected and thus anticlimactic. Nala Se had protected Omega from Hemlock by destroying the girl's blood samples. Due to Palpatine's inspection, she wasn't available to prolong her deception, so she facilitated Omega's getaway. Before fleeing Wayland in a stolen shuttle, Omega collected Crosshair and a friendly Lurka Hound. The fourth episode involved another stolen shuttle. After crash landing on Lao, a planet under Imperial rule, Omega and her manservant Crosshair needed a bribe for passage elsewhere.
Did you just call Crosshair a manservant?
What?
Wait, what?
What?
What is happening right now? I'm so confused.
What? He's the manservant.
Oh, the
What?
chat. Look at the chat. Matthias is like manservant.
Matthias is not happy about this either. I don't know what's going on with this guy. What the hell?
We're struggling. I'm
This is
struggling to
painful.
put on a brave face for you all.
He actually, like, he's saying that he's a manservant implies that he's totally subservient and loyal to her no matter what. Like, he contemplates leaving. He's like, screw your dog, I'm going to leave. And then his loyalty prevents him from doing that. His moral compass, yeah, prevents him from going off on his own because he can't leave her. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like what.
Oh, I'm. This isn't going anywhere good. Like, I swear to God, he's gonna start going on about like woke shit and Omega's a married.
Like, how is he a manservant? Like, what does that mean in the context of the story?
Omega offers some. She's like, I'm gonna gamble my way out of this, and Crosshair's like, oh, okay, sure. Like that means that Crosshair is subservient.
He like goes along kind of with what she's doing, but at several points he exclaims his own like unhappiness about doing it. Like, I don't.
My face is like hot red right now because I'm just like fuming.
He's what? Like,
yeah,
he's like the definition of not a manservant in the context of the story.
Not.
Like, he actively helps her. Like, they would not have. She would not have been able to get out of there without him. Like, they needed each other and they helped each other, and he helped her too. Like, he did things that she wouldn't be able to do. Like, I don't understand what the.
Yeah, this isn't going anywhere good. I'm a little like my voice is like shaking right now because I'm really nervous. I'm worried he's gonna drop like a misogynist slur in a second.
Okay.
To obtain the necessary credits, Omega gambled against an Imperial officer who predictably betrayed her. During a firefight, Omega and her manservant nicked a shuttle. Her reunion with Hunter and Wrecker was the episode's final scene. Crosshair's appearance in the
What happened?
So, like, the way that he phrased that, she gambled an Imperial officer who predictably betrayed her. That's not entirely true. Like the guy, like, in their original interaction, he actually stayed true to his word. But then once he found out that they were fugitives, he came and demanded the credits back and tried to arrest them or whatever. So, like, I don't even, like, that's kind of what makes it more interesting than just him being, like, a backstabbing asshole, is that he actually originally stayed true to his word to her and paid her the credits that he owed. Like, so
also,
I don't really...
like, it wouldn't work if he didn't catch Omega because it would have made him incompetent that he didn't even recognize that she was a fugitive.
Yeah, he was like, of course.
He's like, oh, well, wait. Well, he's like, why don't we wait here until Hemlock shows up? And he's like, you guys think I wouldn't recognize you?
Yeah, he's already suspicious
because he's smart.
Yeah,
Captain Man was his name.
I don't even remember, but he was like a fun character for being a one-off. Like,
yeah, he was cool. He had a very nice, like, distinct, like, voice. I remember.
Yeah, I like that about him too. He wasn't another like prissy British guy.
Yeah, he was from like he was like almost like Scottish, I think. I'm not sure, but
He was really Scott. Yeah.
The actor was in Game of Thrones, I think. He was like a Game of Thrones.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Then again, like every British actor is in Game of Thrones. But yeah, no, so that's not really a great criticism.
Shuttle's entryway was treated as a cliffhanger for episode 5. I refer to Crosshair as a manservant due to my frustration with Lucasfilm's false advertising. The title promises...
Oh boy. Right, here we go, boys. I knew it was coming.
...is the Bad Batch, but Omega is now unquestionably the show's focus and a girl boss.
The noise that you just made. The noise that you just made.
What are you talking about?
Punched in the gut, dude. The noise that you made was perfect.
What is he saying?
Omega's a girl boss.
She's a girl boss because she's competent, like, from the skills she's learned from the Bad Batch.
The show's called The Bad Batch. Omega's part of the Bad Batch. Next question.
Crosshair is also part of the Bad Batch, and he helps her on their escape.
Yeah, it's not false advertising. It's like straight up, it's not. It's about Omega and the Bad Batch, and Omega's part of the Bad Batch. So the show
Because he
makes
wanted to
sense.
be called Omega and the Bad Batch. So, is that what he
Also,
wants?
also Omega being the main focus, like, yeah, she always was the main focus. Like, I
'Cause
don't
she
understand.
started, like, she is the thing that keeps them together. Like, that's
Yeah.
the point. Like, she is what brings Crosshair back to them. Like, she's the glue that holds the team together. That was always the point.
Yeah.
It's like their shared love for Omega, like that always like brings them back together, that unites them at the end of the day.
This
Like,
is a really roundabout way of saying I hate women and children.
oh God,
Very, very roundabout.
it's like you are an idiot if this is your only point of criticism that isn't even true.
I'll give this to Sheev. Sheev wasn't sexist.
She
or
wasn't
racist.
No, it wasn't. It's like that video that he made where he's talking to some guy about Andor. And the guy was like saying that he didn't like that Andor had diverging subplots focused on Mon Mothma and Luthen and other stuff. And he's like, it shouldn't have been called Andor. It's like, but that's what it's about.
But okay,
Like,
but like, if it's, I'm trying not to laugh right now, but it's like, if the show every waking minute is not about Cassian Andor, then it's false advertising. But like, again, all that stuff in Andor about like Luthen and Mon Mothma played into the main story with Cassian. It was necessary for the story.
It's all relevant. It's all connected.
And it's gonna probably lead into season 2. Season 2 is not out yet, but it's probably knowing the writers is, with how skilled they are, they're probably gonna find a way to make it all work.
Like, that's what I thought was so exceptional about Andor, was that like all the characters were like in some way connected by him. Like, they were all linked to him, and so that's why they all end up converging in the same place at the end. It's like they all have shared interest in either capturing him, killing him, arresting him, whatever it is that they want to do. Everyone wants something with Cassian. They're all there at the end.
Bix wanted to fuck him. No, I'm kidding. But no, yeah, like I agree. Everyone wanted something to do with Cassian. Everyone's relationship with Cassian, everyone's relationship went back to Cassian in some way.
And it's like, in a similar sense, it's what the Bad Batch is about. It's like everything kind of connects back to Omega, but also like, yeah, you're complaining that the show, like, it's weird. I wonder if in the same video, like, obviously we're getting close to the end here, kind of, but like, I wonder if he's ever going to bring up the point of like, oh, it's about the clones, and or why isn't it about the clones enough, even though it's called the Bad Batch? And it's like I hear that all the time, and I'm like, what do you like? The show's called the Bad Batch. Obviously,
they're in like every episode.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's not true. But
here's the thing: if they're not, if they're not in an episode, Omega most likely isn't either. Like, I think every episode the Bad Batch isn't in, Omega also isn't in it.
Yeah. Like, what were they were only not in one episode.
Yeah.
The one with Senator Chuchi.
They weren't. No, they also weren't in. Well, I mean, technically, the Crosshair one had Crosshair in it, so like.
Yeah, that's why I count those as like being Bad Batch, because he was at one point, and by the end of the day is a member of the Bad Batch. So.
Also the one with Emery.
Oh, that's true. They weren't in that either.
But no, yeah, I agree. That's not really a good criticism.
No.
Literally, the old Kathleen Kennedy bait and switch that angered fans in the Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, and The Mandalorian.
Whoa. Okay, so he's basically saying it's woke because women, but how is Book of Boba Fett woke?
Because Fennec is a fighter. I don't know.
What? Fennec?
Yeah, I don't know.
But she's only with Boba because Boba valued her as a person and as a friend. So, like, I mean, what other women were in Book of Boba Fett?
The biker girl.
Oh, Sophie Thatcher. God forbid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, nothing about Sophie Thatcher's character was woke, though. She was
like punk.
She was a punk girl. But that's just Sophie Thatcher in real life. I that's not even like a dig at Sophie Thatcher. I love Sophie Thatcher, but like, nothing about her was woke. she ended up sticking with Boba because Boba treated her nicely. Like, he treated them like kids to him. Like, he was like a lame uncle. Like, that's why the kids ended up staying as the main cast of the show, because Boba valued them as people when the other people of Mos Espa didn't. So, like,
Yeah.
that all goes back to the development went to Boba Fett, and it's not woke because it's about a man. So it's like, I really hate doing that where it's like, actually it's about a man, so it can't be woke. But it's like, I don't even have to do that, because it's like, men and women are contributing to the show being good. So you just saying it's one side or the other, it's just false. It's not true. And I mean, I guess The Mandalorian, because of Bo-Katan, and like, I would agree, Bo did take up a lot of that show, but it wasn't woke. It was because she served a function in the story. It's just the issue is that they kind of left Din behind. Like, Bo served undisputably a function in that show. It was
But
just
also like a well-established warrior, like long before that show. So
Yeah.
I don't really know why that would be a problem.
So wait, what other things did he mention were woke?
The
I'm
old
just
Kathleen Kennedy bait and switch that angered fans in the Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, and The Mandalorian. All three.
I guess Reva or Leia.
Yeah, young Leia. I don't know.
Oh no, this 10-year-old girl is woke.
Oh my god, yeah, the blood is woke. The 10-year-old is woke. What else is woke now? The biker, like, yeah, this is what Matthias says is true here. Most people point to the bikers being woke because women with aesthetics, basically.
But that wasn't even exclusive to Drash. Like, all the mods were by that logic woke.
Mods who were like mostly guys.
Yes, Scad was a guy. I hate that I know their names. I'm such a nerd. But Jordan, I forgot how you say his name. Jordan Bulger's character, he was a guy. He was a dude. He had a cybernetic eye. Some of the mod, and then like all the side mods that didn't have speaking roles were either boys or girls. The guy who played Thundercat's character, he was a guy. But the bikers were fresh AF. People complain about their costuming, and like, I agree, it's not very Star Wars, but like, it's still cool. I still think they look cool. Like, Sophie Thatcher's outfit doesn't scream Star Wars, but it's still a cool outfit. I like it.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not gonna complain.
No. Also, to answer your question, they were in the Hera episode. They were
in the Hera. Okay, they were. Okay.
They were in the one scene where they go to the weapons exchange.
Okay.
Omega shows her like the ship or whatever, and then that's how she knows to contact them to help in the next episode.
Which is, again, that's important to the story. So,
yep. It's narratively relevant.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking about Sophie Thatcher now. I'm sorry. I'm like daydreaming about Sophie.
No, but like, I actually agree. Like, I think Matthias has like a really good point here. It's like, I see that all the time where it's like people are like, we're like, not just even in media, where it's just like in day-to-day life, you're like, oh, this is so woke because you have an aesthetic thing. Like, I have a friend, really lovely person, sweetest person ever. She like had dyed green hair last year, and then there was this one guy who's like super Jesus mode, and he was like, oh, that's so like woke and anti-Jesus that you have green hair. And I was like, fuck off.
Thou shalt not paint thy hair green.
You can't have green hair,
woke.
otherwise it's woke and anti-Christ and fucking, I don't even know. Like,
dude, that was the 11th commandment. Moses just wasn't able to carry that up the hill. He had to leave it.
It's like such.
He really hated woke people with green hair. Like, fuck off, dude.
It's painful.
It's like, I really hate that dyed hair is now just like, Jesus wouldn't want you to have green hair.
Jesus would, nope, he wouldn't. He would not. He would look down on you. He would crucify you for that.
Nah.
Can't have green hair.
Meanwhile, in heaven, he's like, slay queen. Hell yeah, you dye that hair.
Yeah, you know, you treat others as you would have them do unto you, and also don't dye your hair green. That was forgot about that. That was one of the.
They didn't put that part of the quote in.
Yeah, they just forgot.
Subverted for
The message.
Well,
Oh!
what? What the fuck was that? Wait, we have to go back. Whoa.
Drinker, how did he get in here? Get him out of here.
Kenobi and The Mandalorian. All three subverted for
The message.
Oh, God.
What is happening?
No.
Wait. I want to go back. I'm going to read what that
Kenobi,
says.
and The Mandalorian. All three subverted for
The message.
Unable to connect with fans. There seems to be an issue honoring the lore. Please do better, or the issue. I like how it's a picture of Rey throwing out money when the sequel trilogy made fucking bank.
Yeah, they made like $1 million each, right?
They made Force Awakens made like 2.2 billion, Last Jedi made 1.5, and Rise of Skywalker made like 1.2. Which, like, yeah, there was a drop off, but they still made a shit ton of money. They're like, it's like one of the highest grossing movie trilogies of all time.
That's a weird choice.
Yeah.
in seasons 1 and 2 of The Bad Batch. A well-traveled, resourceful, and confident Special Forces squad inexplicably allowed a preteen girl with no knowledge of the galaxy beyond Camino to influence their decisions.
Not a great plan.
What?
No. What is he talking about?
Oh my god, I think I just... Did you die? Like, I don't understand. Omega doesn't validate every... Omega doesn't call the shots. Like, she just straight up doesn't. That's not true.
No, she like gives suggestions, and sometimes they listen, and sometimes they don't. Like
Yeah.
like let's say what is it, like even in season 3, let's say as well, when she's like, oh, let me go with you to go talk to Fennec, and Hunter's just straight up like, no, you're staying here.
No.
That he's like literally like, no, it's not gonna happen. Or in season 1, where like one of the times they do listen to her is when Hera calls them and asks for help, and they're like, oh, it's too risky, and Omega's like, isn't helping people what soldiers do? Like, that's essentially what she says. And then they're like, damn, she got us. Like, she's got a point there. It's kind of our job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like. That's one of the times they do listen to her. But when it's like, let's like unreasonably go into danger, they're like, fuck no, we're not gonna take you there.
Also, like in like the episode with Gregor, like Omega does convince them to go and check out Darrow, but Echo is the one to convince them to rescue Gregor. Like both Echo and Omega contribute.
Yeah.
So like, no, Omega does not call the shots.
It's always like a team decision, like, or when they're like, okay, should we actually go to potentially save Crosshair? And Hunter's like, I'm not so sure, and then everyone else is like, yes, absolutely, we should do that. And then he's like, okay, fine, we're gonna.
Heck is the one to validate the state, because he says, oh, Crosshair, he may have done some things, but he's still our brother.
Yeah, we may have disagreed with him, but we still owe him. Like,
It goes back to, you're flat out incorrect. Your statement is not valid. If you watch the show, you would know. What did Matthias say? Omega is often more emotionally intelligent because the rest of the batch are all soldiers with a militaristic mindset. That is not woke Disney feminism. It is just a character having a exactly.
Yep.
The Bad Batch are trained physically and more physically competent. Omega's more emotionally competent. That's not an issue.
Yeah, like that's like a major reason why like a lot of people, say this whatever, they apply the weird critique of like, oh, Crosshair, why, like, Sheev's stupid point in his video about why didn't Crosshair realize earlier that the Empire was fucked up, and it's like, well, because he's a soldier, and if anything, he's the least emotionally intelligent of all of them, playing off what he has said. Like, that guy was basically designed as a weapon.
Also, Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome.
It's like not everyone. It's like the same, like Nazis in the real world. There were people who didn't agree with Adolf Hitler, but there were still a ton of people who definitely invaded France and Poland. Like, like that can apply to them. Like, why didn't they do any? Like, why didn't they realize what they were doing was bad? Because it's like, they're soldiers. They had a job to do.
Yeah.
Like, the same can apply to dead. Like, if you don't want to use real world topics because that may be a little unrealistic, you could do that with Dr. Hemlock in this very show. You can do that with Dedra Miro. You can do that with Grand Moff Tarkin, Moff Gideon, Agent Callus is a bad example, actually. Grand Admiral Thrawn, Governor Price. Like, there are so many characters in the show who do have the choice to be good, but they aren't because they have a job to do. And they're morally bankrupt.
Yeah, like I made a parallel in one of my own videos. Like, comparing Emery to Rampart in the same video, saying like thematically the show is all about choice, and Emery chooses to do the right thing, while Rampart chooses to be like a selfish bastard, which he's always been.
That's a great comparison, actually. I never thought about that.
Like, he has the opportunity to do the right thing, and instead he chooses his own self-interest over like the greater good. But like, even looking at Crosshair as another example, like what I think like a lot of people miss, it's something I didn't even think about until like fairly recently, is if you look at Crosshair, it's not just like, oh, he's a soldier and he's been raised that way. It's that the rest of them made a clear moral distinction that he didn't. They weren't okay with killing people, and he was. Like, because if you think about it, they were in a war fighting robots. They were fighting droids for years. And the first mission they're sent on by the Empire, they're ordered to execute, like, an old lady. And Crosshair's like, let's do it. And the rest of them are like, what the fuck? No. We don't want to do that. Like, they made a moral distinction that he didn't. And that's why he didn't understand. That's why he chose the Empire. Because the Empire gave him a purpose, and they let him go on missions and fight people and shoot people. And he doesn't see a difference between shooting people and shooting robots. Like,
also, with Crosshair, his ability, his enhancement, is really only tied to being a soldier. Like, Hunter, Wrecker, and Tech can use their abilities outside of being soldiers. Like, Tech is smart. You don't have to be a soldier to be smart. Wrecker's strong. You don't have to be a soldier to be strong. Hunter has enhanced senses that can also be used for other things. Like, Crosshair's only skill is shooting things.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he was made to be a weapon.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
yeah, he has no purpose outside warfare. Like, what is he supposed to do?
And season 3 exemplified that because he has a tremor in his hand, and the whole season he's questioning what his purpose is. Because with his tremor, he isn't able to shoot well. So he has no purpose, essentially. And it's culminated in the climax where he, even without his hand, he straight up loses his hand. He's able to use his sharpshooting skills not to be a soldier, but to save his family.
Yeah, that's a great point too. Like, he uses this ability that was imbued into him as a means to be a weapon, and uses that like as a way to save someone rather than kill them, which is what he's done the whole show.
Yeah, the shot that they used to first hit him, that hits the handcuffs. Like, that inherently saved a life, and then they unload on Hemlock and they kill him, but that's not important. Like, it's more so the distinction of how Crosshair uses his ability, and it was more so about saving Omega than killing Hemlock.
Well, yeah, and I think what's even more interesting, actually, is if you rewatch that scene, it's mostly Hunter is shooting Hemlock.
Oh, it's just Hunter unloading.
Crosshair, like, shoots, like, one shot, and then Hunter, like, takes the rest of them. Like, he's just like, fuck this guy.
That is still one of the most satisfying villain deaths in, like, all of Star Wars.
Glad
I can't think of any other villain death that comes... I really hope with Jod, man. People want Jod to have a redemption arc. I hope that
Jod needs to get fucked up.
He needs to get fucked up hard. I want him to die, like, on the same level Dr. Hemlock died. But, like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think.
Same thing with the Penguin.
Oh, yeah, with the Penguin. Oh, my God.
Fucking shut up.
Why did Scorch have to get caught in the cross? I agree, Matthias. Rip Scorch, man. That's also, like, one of my only issues with Bad Batch was how underused Scorch was.
He was just kind of there.
Yeah. I wish we got to see Delta Squad. That would have been nice. But that's, like, a very minor criticism. Like, he wasn't important. Yeah. He wasn't that important to the story.
In Season 3, the writing's on the wall. Hunter, Crosshair, and Wrecker, clones with superhuman powers, will stand aside for Omega. The girl who's the key to everything plots, moralizes, commands, habilitates, shoots, pilots, inspires, gambles, and conditions.
What?
What? She didn't shoot the pilots. Crosshair did that.
Yeah. Also, they say, like, she's a good pilot, but she...
Oh, okay. I thought he said, like, she's the one that shoots the pilots.
No. Shoots, pilots.
Yeah. I know what he means now, but I was like, he shoots pilots. She shoots pilots. And I was like, wait, no, Crosshair did that.
Also, isn't, like, a whole episode dedicated to her learning how to shoot, and it's the Bad Batch that helped her focus. Also,
it was, like, in Season 1, yeah.
Yeah. Also, in Season 2, she's a pretty bad pilot. Like, Tech is terrified of her.
Yeah.
Like,
Tech got her.
it's straight up like that's not correct. You're like, she's a Mary Sue, but she isn't. She gets captured in the finale. She gets kidnapped like every other episode.
Yeah,
And the Bad Batch save her most of the time. Like,
yeah.
your criticism, Tech literally teaches her everything she knows about flying. Yep, she was taught on screen.
Yep, we saw
I guess
it.
he was. I guess he had insomnia during that scene. I don't know.
Like, we actually got more like showcasing of Omega's flying abilities than Luke. Because Luke just had a line where he said, "I used to shoot womp rats in my T-16."
Yeah.
That's like the context we have for how good Luke is at piloting. At least we saw Omega pilot something before she was a pro.
I was good at shooting rats. That means I'm great at being a pilot in a war
And shooting
zone.
a torpedo down a tiny hole to blow up a massive space station.
I hate it when people are like Raise a Mary Sue and they turn around and they're like, Luke was a perfectly written character. It's like, and it's like, okay, well, he was. They're like, well, actually, whenever I bring up like, well, him being a star hopper is not the same as him being a pilot in an active war zone. Like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, well, actually, the T-16 Skyhopper had a similar cockpit and control yoke to the X-wing, which explains why Luke was really good in it. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Fuck off.
I've never been before, but I'm one of the 3 pilots who survives the trench run.
And one of those other pilots is Wedge Antilles, who's known for being like one of the best pilots ever. Like, dude, no. Bad defense against Luke Skywalker. I don't even think Luke is a Mary Sue, but
I don't either. But like,
neither is Rey. Rey isn't a Mary
people
Sue.
apply that criticism to a character like Rey, and then you know that like they would never give as detailed a defense of a character like that. Like if they're coming with some bullshit defense like that about like, oh, the controls are exactly the same, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, what if I'm like, oh, well, the controls that Rey examined on the Star Destroyer were the same as the ones in the Millennium Falcon, and they're like,
oh, a Star Destroyer isn't the same as a Corellian freighter. Like, they're gonna do that. It's just like just hypocrisy. That's all it
like
is.
brain melting. Actually, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Entirety of her skills
At expert level.
she is discovering the awesomeness inside her. The 5th episode depicted a reluctant reacclimation for Crosshair. He wasn't the man he used to be. Omega played the role of mother and IT support, a surprisingly meta line from Crosshair.
What?
She was his mother and IT support?
She's his mother? What are you talking? I have a headache.
It's like he's inverting the meme about the dad batch. It's like Mom Mega. That's what we got here.
Mama Mega.
Mama Mega, yeah. That's what we're doing.
It's just not true. You're just lying. You're lying. Stop.
You're just
lying.
making shit up. And what does he mean? Like, she's his IT support. Like, she doesn't even know how to really use the datapad. It's just because Nala Say had all the stuff downloaded on it, and she actually almost fucks up, and he has to be like, oh, we have to run because the doors are closing on us. Like, she's not even that good at being IT support if you're saying that's what she does. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't.
It's stupid. Oh, he was saying like there's this line about Omega that's like, wait.
To Omega.
You're capable, but you are still a kid.
The MacGuffin of the week was
I love that he completely misses the point of that line, where they weren't talking about her skill, they were talking about her being overconfident, and like Hunter's overprotective of her.
Yeah.
Like, she's physically a kid.
She's literally a child. Yeah.
That's not them breaking the fourth wall or like basically making fun of. That's not them lampshading the Omega being woke. That's just truth. Omega is a kid.
You're a kid.
And
Yeah.
also, yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's just dumb. It doesn't make
So-
any sense.
trying to twist it like, oh, he's saying you're so good, Omega, even though you're a kid. But in reality, the context is that, like, no, like, you are good. I know that for a fact, but also you are a child. So don't, like almost don't put, like, this much pressure on yourself in a way, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's like, don't put yourself on our level. Like, we are trained soldiers and you're a freaking kid.
Yeah.
Another computer terminal in another Imperial base. Crosshair returned to the planet Barton 4, where he killed his CO during Season 2's The Outpost. Among the best episodes, I might add. The unexpected challenge...
Okay, so he isn't totally lost. He likes The
I'll
Outpost.
agree. I agree with something he said.
That's
no freaking way.
Freaking crazy. He just had a good take. He said The Outpost was good.
No, I agree. Wow.
Dude,
but he probably because he's one of the people that thinks the Crosshair episodes are the only good episodes. You know those people?
Because Omega isn't in them.
Yeah, Omega isn't in them, so that's why they're good.
Oh boy.
He's like, it was great because Omega wasn't there to be a mom. Or whatever, mom and IT support.
Of the week was a giant ice worm. Here is a second surprisingly meta line.
Why is there always a huge monster?
Crosshair rescued...
That's not okay.
It's like, funny. What's the problem? It's a funny line.
It's a funny line. Here's the
Like,
thing. I don't like that Bad Batch a lot of the time resolves their conflicts by monster, but the monsters most of the time are just a backdrop. They're not really like a focus. Like it's not we have to kill them.
Yeah, it wasn't like the point of it. Like the point was Hunter and Crosshair resolving their shit.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it also, like, the monster in a sense serves as like a symbolic representation of their own conflict. Because right as they're getting to like the boiling point in their own heated discussion, the worm like bursts out of the ground.
Yeah. Like that was like the episode was about them working together to overcome the worm. It wasn't we have to kill the worm. It was the worm was a backdrop. Like
yeah. It was symbolic and it was like a goal for them or like an obstacle for them to overcome together.
Yeah.
Like to see that they could still work together and trust each other. Like that was the whole point.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Hunter and the Batch was back together again. At least the episode balanced the clones with Omega. Yay. To recap the critical flaws. A glacial pace, mostly filler. A consistent formula.
Mostly filler, every single episode develops the plot in some way, and you cannot skip any episode. It is not mostly filler.
The only episodes I'd say you could skip are like episodes 8 and 9, but even 8 had like a really important scene with Omega and Crosshair.
And also it talked about like the M count and everything, and like that was kind of like what helped you figure out what Necromancer was about.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you couldn't really skip those episodes because you would have been left being like
unless you like know, you wouldn't necessarily know what an M count means even from.
Yeah, because Ventress is like, oh, there's something in the blood. Like you need to those who have a high version of it are capable of wielding the Force. So it's like, it has something to do with the Force. Like that's kind of the point.
It's just like meta knowledge that like you can't expect everyone watching to know what that term means.
It would only you only wouldn't need it if you are like a diehard Star Wars fan and you know
like but not everyone does know.
Yeah, exactly.
Land, protect, acquire, or escape, and leave. A scavenged counterfeit of Star Wars history. Nothing compared to OG Zahn, Stover, et alia. A sequel.
Oh my god, it's that thing with Andor that I said before with fans where I was like, when it's like whenever something comes out and they're like, it's good, but it's not Andor. It's like the same thing. It's like, it's good, but it's not fucking Heir to the Empire. Like, okay, buddy.
You want to hear my hot take?
What's your hot take?
I think Heir to the Empire is overrated as shit.
Oh no. Hide your kids, hide your wives. Dude's gonna be coming for you. I actually have never finished Heir to the Empire. I read like the first half of it, and I never finished The Last Command and whatever the other one is. Shrouded in Darkness or something like that.
Dark Force Rising.
Dark Force. Okay, I just straight up. I don't know where I got Shrouded in Darkness from. Okay. I can understand if you say some of season 1 was filler, but season 3 is so well paced. It is so well paced.
Trilogy rationalization. I'm tired of lame excuses. A bait and switch. Omega calls the shots. The Bad Batch is Kathleen Kennedy's version of the Clone Wars. It's Dave Filoni without George Lucas to manage him. It's the Disney Princess blueprint.
Okay. Dave didn't have anything to do with the show, though. You keep saying it's Filoni's fault.
He keeps bringing up people that have got nothing to do with the show. Like, why does he do that?
It's all Obi-Wan's fault.
It's
He's
all
holding you
his fault. You turned her against me.
Oh my god. It's so... Oh my god. It's like... There are so many criticisms you can have with the Bad Batch, and it's like, you handled them so poorly in every single way. Like
really dumb.
Commander Cody was underused. They didn't really fulfill...
He didn't even bring that up. I thought he
He
would.
didn't even bring up Commander Cody. Or you could be like, Commander Wolf could have been used more. The CX troopers could have been explored a little bit better. It's like Ventress's episode kind of like ruined the pace a little bit. But it's like none of that's even talked about. It's just Disney is forcing an agenda and Omega is woke. Like, oh well.
Like, what was the point that he said like a minute ago where he was like, Omega is balanced with the clones in the 5th episode, I think it was, that he was talking about, right? Like, what does that even mean? Like,
basically saying like, oh, at least the clones were given a little bit of focus and Omega wasn't the one hogging the spotlight. But it's like,
she wasn't hogging it before.
Yeah, it's like, what's your... Okay.
It was her and Crosshair for like 2 episodes.
Yeah, it was.
And then
Omega and Crosshair's excellent adventure. Sorry.
Yeah, The Great Escape with Crosshair.
The greatest. That's perfect.
And then that was and then they reunited, and then Echo came back. But I don't really understand what.
Yeah.
What the heck does that even mean, man?
Yeah.
For Star Wars. And if you're asking me,
No, sir, I don't like it.
thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
I'm
Check
gonna
out
dis-
Galactic
What?
Initiative for honest takes on Star Wars.
I'm gonna
It's like the most
dislike it.
abrupt ending ever. He just like, okay, he said a bunch of random shit, and then he's like, bye. I hope you enjoyed. I did not enjoy.
Oh,
it.
I already disliked it. That's how you know. I already commented on it. Wait. Oh my god.
What did you
Dude,
say?
I said a slow run does not equate to filler. Omega's repetitive schedule and miserable state of living is what you're meant to feel. Dread akin to something like The Lighthouse, which is Robert Eggers' movie, which is true. And I'm pretty sure tying into the new continuity is not a bad thing. Saying Wayland isn't like it is in Legends is a very the grass is green comment. Of course it's different. It's being used to fulfill a different purpose. It's not a commercial. It's being used for the established lore of what the Empire is trying to accomplish with cloning. I like how you're trying to push Omega as a woke character, but she needed Crosshair and Nala Se in order to escape. She's gotten captured more times than I can count, and I like how you credit her being a good pilot when she only just started to learn in season 2, and even then broke the ship, which Tech was clearly worried about. She's not a Mary Sue. She's a naive kid. Don't make shit up just to be mad.
I mean, I think you covered all the right points there.
I forgot that I wrote this. I didn't know that I watched the video already. I blocked this out of my mind like a fucking callus on my brain.
It was probably like right when it came out, right? Because I was like, when did you come
9 months, yeah. I watched it like a month before. I will be sure to like and subscribe. But that was quite possibly
unlike and whatever the like. I'll anti-subscribe. Like if that's the thing.
I'm gonna subscribe just so I can unsubscribe.
I'm just gonna like go to this video and like your comment because like no one else liked it.
Aw, thank you. That's
There
great.
we go.
So that was quite possibly the worst video on the Bad Batch I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
That was I mean it definitely gives the Sheev Talks one a run for its money.
Yeah, like Sheeves is still pretty awful, but like I'll give this to Sheev. He wasn't being sexist.
He wasn't being sexist. He didn't talk about the woke, and he didn't call Crosshair a manservant.
And he didn't make fun of Michelle Ng's accent.
Yeah, he didn't make fun of Michelle.
He didn't make fun of New Zealand people.
And also, he waited for the whole season to be out before he critiqued it, like an idiot.
Well, maybe because I think his video came out like a day after Bad Batch finished, like when the finale came out. So he must have like either he wrote it before it ended, or he just straight up like he just speed ran. Which I
need to look this up now. When did he post that?
Sheev passing the lowest possible bar by not being sexist. Yeah, let's
Good job,
go.
Steve. You've accomplished a true like life goal.
Good job, Cody. You're a fucking brilliant content creator.
Posted. So he did. Yeah, he posted like a day after the finale came out.
I mean, if he literally like got to writing it right after, I gotta respect that. Like, I can't even get mad at that. But
Yeah, like he critiqued the show idiotically, but he did so having the full breadth of the story.
yeah,
So like
he did a bad job, but he watched the whole thing.
yeah, like I would actually be interested to hear what this guy like had to say. Did he make more videos?
He made more videos. He said nothing. I watched like the opening of it, and he's like, nothing happened. And
Okay.
that's like my least favorite criticism of anything when you go, nothing happened in the movie. There was no point. Like, that's like tied for me. It's nothing happened, and what was the point of that movie? Like,
That's what I asked. Did you watch it?
yeah. It's just like it just basically it's you saying I didn't understand what the movie was trying to say. Like, and also like not when you like I really hate it when people are like nothing is happening. Like, no, it is. It's just you don't understand the point of it. And I don't like gatekeeping. I don't like saying you don't understand it. But if you straight up say I don't understand the point of it, that's just you basically self-reporting saying I'm not smart enough to think of what the purpose of the movie is or what the movie is trying to tell me. But
yeah, like the thing that I don't like about a lot of like this guy and Sheep's videos is they present like subjective opinions as being like objective facts, and like at
I
least
really hate that too. I really don't, because like they also like I remember in their group chat a while back, they got mad at me when I kept saying I liked something. They're like, you can like something, that doesn't mean it's good though. And basically their argument was saying something is good and saying you like it is different. Liking it just means you enjoy it. Good means it's quality. And it's like basically they just straw man it by being like, well, you said you liked it. You didn't say it was good. That means that you're acknowledging that it's bad. It's like, no, that's not true. I said that like someone saying that they liked something doesn't mean that they're acknowledging that it's not objectively good. Like people saying I liked it is just people saying it's good. Like that's just another way of people saying it. Not everyone is on the same wavelength of vocabulary as you are.
yeah.
Like that's a really dumb like that's just a dumb argument when people are like they said they liked it. They didn't that means they don't think it's good. It's like no, just sometimes people say I like it and that's their way of saying that they think it's good. But
Needs fans to realize that good isn't an objective quality. Yeah.
yeah. Oh my god.
Like that's the thing, like this guy in his whole video here is like saying shit like, "Oh, Kathleen Kennedy just wants to do this. Dave Filoni did this and this and this and this," and it's like, okay, if you're gonna present things as being objective fact when they're really your own opinion, at least get the facts right. Like you're just like making shit up. Like you clearly didn't even do your research because you don't even know who wrote the show. You don't even know like who's involved in it. Like, what are you talking about, man? Like,
do your research. But this is a pretty I mean, I don't like bad-mouthing people's content unless they deserve it, and this guy most definitely deserves it. This is like the most pathetic video essay I've ever seen in my entire life.
it's not even.
I saw this. The mic quality is good. That's like the only good thing I can say. The editing is bad because it's literally just the trailer footage looped, and it's not even for the right season.
It's not relevant to like what he's talking about. Like he'll just use footage from season 2 when he's talking about a season 3 element that doesn't even like have characters in the scene that he's talking about. Like
That's like what I used to do, like, when I was in, like, 8th grade, like, when I was doing videos on The Last Jedi, I would just basically screen record The Last Jedi trailer and then loop it, and that was my whole video. Like, it was really awful. Like, now I actually get footage from the show that I wanna talk about. Like, if I'm talking about Moff Gideon versus The Mandalorian, I'm gonna get scenes from that scene. I'm not gonna just get The Mandalorian trailer. Like, I have to actually show footage from it. The only time he actually showed footage of that respective scene is when he's
bad. But it was, and then there's like a scene of like the season 1 trailer. It's like
it's rough. But that's pretty much it. Benny, it was great having you on here. I wish we talked about something cooler, but other than that,
Another time. All in due time.
another time we'll talk about something good. We'll review. Why don't we review Skeleton Crew once that show finishes up?
Oh yeah, we should do that. We should talk about that. We should do a live video.
I have a lot to say about Skeleton Crew. Mostly,
does this guy like Skeleton Crew?
Oh, actually, wait. Let's actually.
Skeleton Crew almost great, episode 5. Then he says Skeleton Crew not Star Wars, but is it good?
It's gonna say like it's woke because Fern has a couple lines where she's pretty nice to people and she's like a girl boss. Video. All right. Skeleton Crew, not almost Star Wars. Almost great. Why does Fern have a fez?
What?
Why does he gave Fern a fez?
Yeah, wait, what the fuck is that?
Is it like a reference to Sala? The Jekyll and Hyde problem.
What's the hat that he
not Star Wars, but is it good?
Is it a Yankees
I think it's
hat?
it's an Indiana Jones reference. Cause Jod's Indiana Jones, so Wim is short round because he has the Yankee hat.
So
which is the most surface level, like Indiana Jones has booby traps. Skeleton Crew also had booby traps. Like that's like the most shallow.
Why does Wim have a Yankees cap on?
No, because it's comparing Indiana Jones, and Short Round from Indiana Jones had a Yankee cap on. So he's like Wim is Short Round.
I did not remember that at all. Okay.
So and he's just like, I guess
from Indiana Jones on Skeleton Crew characters.
And I guess Fern is Sala. I guess. I think that's what he's trying to say, but that doesn't even. Fern isn't Sala. That's not a good comparison. Sala's like a grown ass dude.
Yeah, Indy's best friend. Comparing Jude Law's character, Jod, compare him to Indy. It's like not at all similar.
Jod isn't anything like Indiana Jones. I don't understand it. Like,
it literally is just for the thumbnail. Like it's for like it is just for clicks.
Yeah, I guess, but mine is just like a picture. Will just be a picture of the show, and it'll just be like review. Like it's simple and it just grabs your attention because it's exactly what you. I don't know.
I don't like falsify what the video is.
It's like too many words. Like Skeleton Crew, not Star Wars, but is it good? Like just say Skeleton Crew review or just review.
Good review. Yeah.
Like it's the words are too small, the pictures are too small. Also, the fucking Forces female picture he's using, like. That's not even from Star Wars. Like, why is he using the picture of, like, the Force's female? That's not even a Star Wars thing. I'm very annoyed right now.
I think this guy has made me lose, like, 5 brain cells throughout this.
I think, like, we should probably end the stream now, because every time I'm thinking about it, I'm losing brain power.
Yeah, I'm like losing brain cells, like thinking about why this guy does anything. Like, you know, I do these like things from time to time where like I put like a slightly overlong title in a video, but like I don't like overstuff the thumbnail. Like I do the same thing that you do, where it's just like poster and then like I don't know, like a word. Like that's what I did for like Rings of Power. I was like Rings of Power, frustrating, and that was my thumbnail. I'm like, okay. That's all I need to do. I don't need to overdo it. Then this guy's like got Indiana Jones, Jod, and Sala, freaking Fern. Like I don't even know what he's doing.
I swear to like it's the whole. He's gonna make the argument of Fern is woke because she's a girl, and she's headstrong.
Was Sala woke?
Sala was not. Well, I mean, he was. I think he was meant to be Arab. I'm not sure. So yeah, he's a minority. He's a minority, so he is woke. But. Like with Fern, it's gonna be Fern is woke, but the issue is that Fern is a kid, and in episode 5, she literally gets tricked by Jod and not manhandled. That's a bad term to use. She's a kid, but she gets like held hostage by Jod and defeated by him. Like,
Yeah.
it's very not woke.
Actually,
Like,
yeah, not woke. It's like he actually.
it's woke because KB has a disability. That's it. That's like all, like, that's as deep as it goes. One of the characters is disabled, and it's anti-ableist.
It's anti-ableist because she has a cybernetic brain. That oh yeah, when they had Lobot in Empire Strikes Back, that was pretty woke too, right? Because he also had like a cybernetic brain.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Also, the fact that it's like Wim saved KB, a boy saved a girl, so it's like it's so stupid. But I'm gonna end the stream now because I cannot look at this guy's content
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't blame you. All right.
I'm gonna close the tab. But yeah, it has been great talking with you,
Yeah, it's
Benny. Let's schedule another thing. Belgian Crew ends so we can actually talk about something good. But yeah, I will see you later, man.
Yeah, catch you later. Thanks for having me on. Peace out.
Bye bye.
Yeah, have a good night, Matthias.
Peace out.